However, today I'm here to present to prospective test takers about the option to choose PTE to fulfill their overseas education and visa requirements. Now, simply put, PTE test assesses your English into 4 different modules, namely reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And all this happens in a one-seated 3 hours computer test. This means there is no human involvement, be it during the test or in assessment. Now let me go through all the 20 topics to give you a bit more perspective about this integrated nature of scoring. And of course, finally, I must say that this is the only test in the world right now with the greatest flexibility. What I mean by that is the test dates are so readily available that you can literally book in tests the very next day. I guarantee with any student, if I'm to train him or her for IELTS versus PTE, I can get that to a point where the success in PTE can be achieved in half the time that of IELTS. Hi there. Welcome to this mini presentation on English Proficiency Test and Pearson's Test of English Academic, shortly known as PTE. My name is ATIQ. I'm a professional trainer at PTE Study Centre Australia. I've been involved in industry of professional coaching for English Proficiency Test for the last 6 years. And I started my journey with IELTS back in the UK. However, today I'm here to present to prospective test takers about the option to choose PTE to fulfill their overseas education and visa requirements. Before I talk about PTE and why should you be choosing such computer-based test over traditional paper-based exams, we must first get a perspective on why is there a need to sit down for an English proficiency test. Well, language tests are put in place for foreign education bodies or by Department of Immigrations of countries to assess your level of English if you decide to choose to study or migrate to a country where English is the common language or the first language. Countries such as Australia, Canada, or UK. As per the Common European Framework for Language or CEFR models, these language tests are designed to assess whether you possess the necessary skills that's required for you to continue to live in such countries and get along just as fine. Now, these CFR models gives you some indicative scores or levels, levels such as beginner, pre-intermediate, upper intermediate, all the way up until professional levels in English. And based on where and how you would use English or how much you need to rely on your English skills to get along in every aspect of life, the CFR requirements would also vary. For an example, if you are choosing to study or pursue a course, a trade course in Australia, you may just be able to get fine by demonstrating just above beginner English CFR level. On the other hand, if you are choosing to pursue a career in, say, in the field of medicine or engineering, you need to demonstrate a proficient level of English. And these tests are, the way they are designed, they would exactly pinpoint what's your level of English and what's the degree starting from beginner all the way to proficient. There are various options, and based on different models and based on different scoring criteria, these tests level you based on these CFR criteria and using several different types of matrices. Pearson Test in English, or PTE, is one such test. PTE is accepted for study applications by thousands of academic programs around the world. It is approved for all UK, Australian and New Zealand student visa and migration applications. PTE Academic is also accepted by most of Canadian universities and colleges. If PTE is accepted to fulfill your English proficiency test requirement by the country or education provider you intend to apply with, then this video is definitely for you. Now, simply put, PTE test assesses your English into 4 different modules, namely reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And all this happens in a one-seated 3 hours computer test. This means there is no human involvement, be it during the test or in assessment. That's right, there is no human involvement whatsoever, and a computer algorithm decides what's your level of English, be it a beginner all the way down to proficient. What's the benefit of it, you ask? Firstly, the scores gets generated fast. I mean really fast. In almost cases, the scores gets generated within 24 hours. We've observed students getting their scores in a couple of hours as well. But even more importantly, there is no element of bias in this test because there is no human involvement. And when a student sits down for the test, knowing that a computer, an algorithm is making those assessments, knowing those rules and being able to bypass those rules, you will be able to get your desired score in a very short time. Now, before I explain to you or give you my perspective on why should you be choosing PTE over traditional conventional English proficiency tests such as IELTS or TOEFL, I would like to take a couple of minutes to give you a quick brief on the layout of the entire PTE exam. PTE is conducted in 3 parts made of 20 question item types. It takes about 3 hours to finish the test with an optional 10 minutes break. The exam is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 has speaking and writing question item types. Part 2 has reading, and the last part has some listening question item types, before which you have an optional 10 minutes break which you can take. Unlike other tests, most question item types of PTE assesses 2 communicative skills with 1 question item type. For an instance, under Part 1, a question item type named Summarize Written Text, whereby you'd have to read a passage for 200 to 300 words. Your assessments would generate scores for your reading as well as your writing modules. This brings me to the main difference factor of PTE, and that is the integrated nature of the test itself. What this means is for most question item types, there is integrated nature of scoring, and before you speak or write in the test, if you are needing to listen accurately, you will be scored or penalized for your listening as well. And that is the difference of the test amongst all the other tests. Now let me go through all the 20 topics to give you a bit more perspective about this integrated nature of scoring. Starting with Part 1, which has questions for your speaking and writing. Starting off with the very first question is read aloud, whereby on top of your speaking, you will also be assessed for your reading module because you will be reading a passage. After it comes repeat sentence, whereby you listen to a sentence and repeat it back. So beyond your speaking criteria, you would also be assessed for your listening. The third question item type under speaking is describe image. In this question item type, you will get an image, which may be a graph or a map or any other random image. You need to explain and express that image in about 30 to 40 seconds time. For this particular question, there isn't any integrated nature scoring, only your speaking is assessed. The fourth question item type under Part 1 is called retell lecture, whereby you'd need to listen to a recording and understand that recording and take some necessary notes from that recording. And once the recording has finished, you will have to retell back those notes you have taken in a meaningful and a coherent manner. You need to demonstrate not only your speaking skills for this question item type, as you were listening and taking notes, the quality of your notes also demonstrates the quality of your listening. So your listening is also scored in this question item type. The very last question, or the fifth question on part 1, known as answer short question, demonstrates your listening scores, your listening skills as well, because you will be listening to a question which would be based on general knowledge, and you have to provide a short answer as you speak. So it is a task generating your speaking scores. It also demonstrates your listening skills. Moving along to the last 2 questions on part 1. These 2 questions are based on writing. So that's the core competency that you will demonstrate through these 2 questions. Starting off with summarize written text. In this particular test or task, you will be tasked to summarize a passage which would be around 200 to 300 words long and wrap it up within a single sentence. Now, as you will be writing that sentence down following some specific guidance, you'll need to demonstrate your writing skills. So essentially your ability to demonstrate good grammar skills, vocabulary skills, but you'd also need to demonstrate your reading skills because you'd be reading the passage, trying to summarize only the main ideas. So here is the integrated nature of this question. The last question item type on your part 1 is essay writing. This one is a core writing based task only, whereby just as of any conventional essay, you need to write your essay. And of course, the criteria would attach grammar, vocabulary, linguistic range, and such, which are core requirements of writing in a sense. Moving along to part 2. Now, the underlying denominator here is all the question items generate scores towards your reading module. Starting off with the first question though, has the integrated nature of scoring in fill in the blanks reading and writing, also known as fill in the blanks drop-down, whereby not only your grammar and vocabulary knowledge would be assessed, but your collocation knowledge is also going to be tested. So these demonstrates not only your reading capabilities, but your abilities to identify how native-like responses are supposed to be, or how native speakers use English in every walks of life, be it in reading form or be it in writing form. Moving along to the second question item type, it is multiple choice, select multiple answer, reading. This is a straightforward question item type with no connections with a secondary module, whereby you will be reading a passage and you will be asked a question based on the passage. It is a multiple choice option, so there are more than one option which correctly answers the question. The third question also does not demonstrate any integrated nature of scoring, and this question item type is called reorder paragraphs, whereby you will get a passage, relatively short one, divided into anywhere between 5 to 7 statements. Your objective is to arrange all these statements which would be scrambled as a question. Now you see, the connection here is to demonstrate your reading skills, because the correct order would be meaningful and it would be coherent. But there is a bit of a catch on this question, because essentially as you get more idea, you would learn that the reading skills are even more assessed because there would be a requirement of matching pairs. That's why it says reordering the paragraph, but the scoring criteria works in pairs. The fourth question item type is also a core reading competency task known as fill in the blanks reading or fill in the blanks drag and drop. This one demonstrates your ability in grammar knowledge as well as your vocabulary. The topics that will be chosen as passages would be from all walks of life. They could be a news report. They may essentially be any topic based on literature or current affairs, but your grammar and vocabulary scores can be assessed using this question item type. The last question under part 2 is called multiple choice select single answer. And just like your multiple choice option, the same rules apply here, but you'd only need to select one answer. Moving on to the third part, there will be 8 question items under that. And as you can understand, it says part 3 listening. So all the 8 question item types would generate scores towards your listening module. So that is the underlying fact. You'd need to demonstrate your listening skills all throughout these 8 question item types. But starting with the first question item type named summarize spoken text, you'd also need to demonstrate your writing skills. So that's the integrated nature of the question item type, whereby you'd listen to a recording and find out some relevant points from that recording. So that's where the listening criteria come in. And then you'd have to write a summary report. Here is the writing element. Moving on to the second question under your part 3, we start off with multiple choice, select multiple answer. Now, this one only is associated with your listening core competencies, whereby you listen to a recording and you read the question and find out the correct answers from the recording. So as you can understand, you need to demonstrate just your listening elements here. The third question under part 3 is fill in the blanks listening. Now in this question item type, what happens is you'll be listening to a recording and the transcript of that recording will be provided to you. In this transcript, there will be anywhere between 3 to 7 words that are missing. Your objective is to listen, match the transcript with the recording and find these missing words out and type those words in those gaps. Now you see the connection here? You're listening as well as typing, so you're writing. So that's the integrated nature of this question item type, whereby you'd generate scores towards both listening as well as your writing module. After you fill in the blanks listening comes highlight correct summary, whereby you'd listen to a recording and based on that recording, you will have to select a correct summary of that recording. You will be provided with multiple options, but only one of the options correctly summarizes that recording. Now you see the connection here? You'd be listening and then you'd be reading options to determine which one correctly summarizes the recording. So here is the integrated nature of the question, and they are listening as well as reading. The fourth question item type, or rather I should say the fifth question item type on your listening part 3 is multiple choice select single answer. So just like your multiple choice multiple option, similar criteria whereby you'd listen and find the answer to that recording. But in this instance, there is only one answer. There are no secondary criteria to be concerned with this question item type. Then comes the question item type named select missing word. And in this question item as well, there aren't any integrated nature of scoring, whereby in this question, you'd have to listen to a recording, follow through and understand and keep track of the entire theme of the passage or the recording, beg your pardon. And in that recording, the very last word of the last sentence or the last few words of the last sentence of that recording is missing. And it's you who has to listen to the recording and find out what that missing word could be. You will be provided with the options, but only one of the options correctly completes that sentence. So the listening element is live on this question item. The second last question of the exam is known as highlight incorrect word or highlight incorrect words. In this question item type, just like your fill in the blanks listening, you'd be listening to a recording and you will be provided with a transcript of that recording. And in this transcript, there will be anywhere between 3 to 7 words which will not match with the transcript. Your job is to listen, simultaneously read the passage and highlight those words that do not match with the recording. So we can make the connection here, whereby we are listening and following and matching the transcript and clicking the incorrect words. So our reading skills are also tested with this question. So that's the transferable nature of this question. The last question for the exam is known as write from dictation. In this question item type, just like your repeat sentence, you'd be listening to an academic sentence. So that's the listening element here. Once the recording has finished, you'd have to type in the sentence in the box that you'll be provided. You will have to write that sentence down. So the connection we are making here is reading, listening and writing module. So overall, you can understand, out of the 20 question item types that I've just briefly touched upon, there are 11 such question items that has this transferable scoring and integrated nature of scoring. And that's where the beauty of the exam lies. You can find your balance, you can integrate, and you can adjust based on your skills, as well as exactly cracking the exam by knowing in what ways you can find the clear balance and get your desired score. Now let's talk about why you should choose PTE over any other English proficiency test. First of all, this test is guaranteed to save you your time in every aspect, be it in preparation or in attending the test and getting the results themselves. Let me explain you how it works. Well, in preparation, because you prepare by question item type in PTE, not by the sections, it saves you a lot of time. For an instance, when you prepare for a retail lecture question item type, it is a speaking task. But remember, you are also enhancing your listening skills because you are listening to a recording. Also, for your scoring, the scoring mechanism is unbiased. It does not matter where or when you've taken the test or what venue you have taken it in. You prepare with the right kind of strategies and you have the right mindset, the score is guaranteed and you will get it in a very short time. For an example, in IELTS, writing score varies drastically depending on who is reviewing your work. And some prefer argumentative essay or some prefer persuasive essays. But the logic in PTE exam, as long as you are able to demonstrate that you can write your essay with proper grammar and you've addressed the question appropriately with correct spelling, you are most likely to get maximum scores out of it. And of course, finally, I must say that this is the only test in the world right now with the greatest flexibility. What I mean by that is the test dates are so readily available that you can literally book in tests the very next day. And the availabilities within a day is fairly flexible as well. So you've got availabilities in the morning, afternoon, in the evening, whatever you want to choose. And also, not to mention that you would be able to take the test just in case if you're not able to overcome it in a single attempt, you can book it very quickly. I've trained students for IELTS for over 6 years now, and I've been in close proximity to other tests like TOEFL as well. But believe me when I say this, the flexibility of PTE is what differentiates this test from all the other tests. And now from my side, well, what I feel is the aim of the test is to meet English proficiency requirements. I guarantee with any student, if I'm to train him or her for IELTS versus PTE, I can get that to a point where the success in PTE can be achieved in half the time that of IELTS. And I'm not making this as a casual claim. I speak from 3 years plus years of experience in teaching PTE in Australia to almost 4,000 PTE candidates. I hope this presentation was somewhat helpful to your prospective English test decisions. And I hope that I was able to give you a good presentation and clearly and precisely demonstrate what PTE is all about. Please do your own research as well before choosing the right test for you. Because a test of this sort is a very high-stake one, where a lot of money and time can easily be wasted without a right preparation plan. This is ATIQ from PTE Study Centre Australia. Good luck with your PTE test journey.